Let's start off with a little bounce, shake, wiggle, as we often do. So you can do it as it feels good to you. Maybe you start bouncing on your heels, or I guess this is bouncing on your toes. I'm bouncing my heels up and down. And you might kind of get things shaking a little bit. I am. And maybe you hop a little if that feels good. Maybe take some deep inhales and exhales as you're moving and wiggling and shaking. Just starting to wake up. And this could be as vigorous or as gentle as feels right to you today. And because I did not sleep well, I am doing a vigorous shake to try and wake up. But really, it could be as gentle or as vigorous as feels right to you. Then you can take your time coming back to center. And once you're there, you can stand however you like. Maybe you close your eyes if that feels okay. And take a few deep breaths, just noticing how you're feeling now. And of course, it might be a good time to just check in and see how your body's feeling. Without judgment, just notice if there are places that feel loose and limber or tight, or is there pain or discomfort? Anywhere that feels energized and ready to go. And you might notice how much energy you have or don't have. And then notice how your heart is feeling. And you might also check in and see what your mind is doing. Is it active or calm? Is it able to stay in the present moment? And all this without judgment. So whatever is, and that's totally okay. And if your eyes are closed, you can go ahead and open them. And then if you want to readjust how you're standing, you can do that. If you would like to sit for this, you could also do that. We're going to start with some sun breaths. So as you sweep your arms up, inhale, and you can do this at your own pace. And then when you start to exhale, sweep your arms down. And if syncing your breath with your movements is more of a source of stress for you than it is useful, you can totally skip that. But if it feels nice to you, try some deep, slow inhales and exhales, arms up on the inhales and down on the exhales. And as always, move to your degree. So if that means your arms come up this high, that's fine. If that means your arms come up all the way and you have to really slow things down, that's fine too. And if this feels useful to you, you can continue doing this. And another thing you might consider doing would be as you lift your arms up, maybe you would lift them up, maybe you lift them in front of you, but without looking, can you press your fingertips together and then bring your arms back apart? So maybe that seems very simple, But sometimes knowing where we are in space is not the easiest thing in the world. So we're working on proprioception, knowing where we are in space here. Just notice, do your fingertips actually touch? Maybe you end up clasping your hands. And if you'd like to try something else, if you have blocks, you could do this with blocks. So you would hold them on the short end and lift them up or out or even behind you. And then peek and see, did they come together? Some days I find this more challenging than other days. So any of these options is a really great option. Sun breaths, trying bringing fingertips together, or trying bringing your blocks together. Essentially, we're moving pretty slowly, trying to be aware of how we're moving, where are we in space, maybe taking long, slow breaths. Try that just a couple more times, whatever option you're trying. And once you've finished up, you can step your feet apart a little bit and bring your hands to your hips. And aiming to keep your chest pretty open to the front and your hips pretty stable, lean over to the left. I'm not mirroring you today because that's just too hard in the state that I'm in. And look for a side stretch through your body here. And notice, what does it take to keep you upright? When you're ready, you can come back to center and try it on the other side. You can do anything you want with your arms here. And then come back to center, and you can keep doing it like that. Or one other thing you might try would be to take a block and press it gently between your head and your palm. Or if you don't have a block, you could just use your hand right on your head. And as you are gently pressing it into your palm and your head, lean to the opposite side. Just notice if that changes what you're feeling. You might try lifting and lowering a couple of times on that side, really slowly, making sure that you're breathing as you move, just noticing, does that change anything? Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes people will feel more engagement through certain parts of their core, or just a general awareness, again, of where they are in space, how open their chest is to the front. Once you've tried that on one side, if you're trying it, you might try it on the other side. As always, make sure you're moving at a pace that works best for you. And once you've done it on both sides, you can place your block down on the ground, step your feet into what feels like for you, a stable position. And we're going to try, and you might want to have some place to place your hand for assistance balancing here, but we're going to try some calf raises a few different ways. So whatever you want to do with your hands, see if you can slowly lift up onto your toes and then slowly lower down. Try it a few times. And again, sometimes it's really useful to have a wall or a chair for balance, someplace stable where you can rest a hand. Another thing you could always do here would be to stand with your back against a wall, and that would give you a lot of feedback. So you would know better where you were in space. So once you've tried it a few times like that, if you have a block or something similar to a block, and you would like to try placing that block between your ankles and trying it a few more times just to see how does that change things. Does it feel the same? Maybe it gets easier, maybe it gets harder. Notice where you're feeling this. Very likely in your calves. And if you like having the block there, you can keep that there, or you could take it out. And another thing you might try would be placing a block or something similar between your palms, or pretending you have something there and lifting your arms out in front of you if you're not using them for balance, and trying it a few more times. And just notice, how does that change things? You might be really feeling this in your calves at this point, and feel free to take a break whenever you like. If you're still at it, maybe you do one more before then taking any blocks or props you're using, setting them aside, and shaking things out a little bit. So you might shake out your legs, you might take a few deep breaths, you might bounce a little. And if it would feel good to your calves, you could give them a stretch right now. And one way you might do that would be to place, if you have a block, place your toes on the block and lean your body towards that. You can also do this at a wall. And I don't have a great place to show you how to do that because I'm not sure you can see me at the wall, but you would place your toes on the wall and lean in, or you could come into a lunge and stretch your back leg that way. But just take a couple of moments to stretch both sides if you think that is going to feel good to you. So if you haven't switched sides, go ahead and do that now. And then when you're ready, you can come back to center, and this would be another great time to have a wall or someplace stable to place a hand. We're going to try some hip swishes to get our hips nice and warmed up and get some of that synovial fluid moving. So bring all of your weight into your left leg, hover your right leg, and then if it feels okay, lift that knee up, turn that knee in, swish it up and around, and turn it out. And do this to the degree that it works in your body. So if you have any type of injury, or if there's pain when you do this, move away from the pain. So don't do it where it feels like there's pain. But you might try lifting and lowering that leg a little bit. And you could also do this in a seated position if you have a chair that's going to allow you to lift and lower without arms in the way or something. And once you've done that a bunch on the first side, you can place that foot down, maybe shake out your standing leg a little bit, and then move on to the second side. So ground through your right leg, lift your left, Maybe try these swoopy Mobius band figure eights with your left knee. And sometimes it can be helpful to keep a bend in that standing leg. Sometimes staying soft that way makes us a little more responsive when we need to move and catch our balance. Once you feel like that's complete, you can drop that leg down, shake out anything that needs shaking. And then if you have blocks, place them in front of you. So I think pretty much we'll be facing the long edge of the mat today, or however you want to be set up. But once you have your blocks there, ground down through your left foot, lift your right, tap your block with your right toes, and then drop them down and do the same thing on the other side. Tap your left toes on a block, drop it down. And keep repeating this, alternating sides. You can move as slowly or as quickly as you like. And you might try varying the speed. And you might notice, is it necessary to look at your blocks when you do it? And that might be a great way to do it. What happens maybe if you don't look at your blocks? And if that doesn't feel like a secure, wise decision for you, maybe that's not the challenge for today. And you can continue like this. Or another option would be next time you tap your block, pause, open that knee out to the side and step it down and out a little bit. And then step back in. And then try that on the other side. Pause, bring it out, step back in. And continue alternating sides. Just noticing you're switching direction here. And how can you make this work best in your body? Take your time evening yourself out. And when you're ready, step to one edge of your mat. Unless you're really enjoying that and you can continue doing that. And I may not always say that, but that's always the case. But if you want to try some slow motion walking, step to the edge of your mat. And we're going to try side to sides today. If that is something you want to try, bring all of your weight into the foot that is at the outer edge of your mat. Hover your inner foot, step it out, and without placing any weight on it, drop that foot down to the mat. And only once it's touching the mat, start to shift your weight into that leg very slowly, and then lift your, what is now your back leg. Do the same thing. So try going across your mat and then back in this way. And notice, are your knees soft or are you tending to lock them out? What are your arms doing? How does your body tend to lean or stay upright as you're doing this? And is this creating tension anywhere? And if it is that tension useful? So you can keep moving like this, or the next time you return to your original spot on your mat, one thing you might try is varying things by turning that inner leg towards the mat so that one foot is aimed towards the mat, one foot is aimed towards the side of the mat. I'm probably not saying that very clearly, but I hope my arms are giving you a more clear picture. But trying the same thing, so stepping that inner leg out into the mat, placing it down, and then starting to shift your weight. And once you do, lift your other leg, set that foot down, then shift your weight into that foot. So we're doing the same exact thing, except our foot position is varied here. One foot facing the short edge of the mat, that's the leading foot. The other one facing the long edge, that's the back foot. And once you get to the other end of your mat, you might switch feet so that once again, your inner foot is facing the short edge of the mat and your outer foot is facing the long edge of the mat. So once you've traversed your mat enough times, and if you haven't evened yourself out, maybe at this point you want to even yourself out by doing the other side. But once you've traversed your mat a couple of times, you can, at this point, continue doing that. You can try anything else that we've already done, or if you'd like to, kind of try to bring some of the stuff that we've done all together. I'm going to lead us through a little flow that you could try if you like. So have your blocks in front of you and set yourself up so you're facing the long edge of your mat. And we'll start by grounding down through your left leg. Hover your right foot. Maybe lift that foot up, tap your block, open your leg, drop it out to the side. So you're going to be, once you're there, pause, you're going to be in a little bit of a lunge here. And determine for yourself, does this feel like a good length for my lunge? You could make it longer, you could make it shorter. But adjust your legs so that you can come into a warrior two here, which is essentially a lunge with your bent knee foot facing the short edge of your mat, your other foot more straight. Maybe you bring your arms up, stretch them out into T arms. Open your body towards the long edge of your mat. So you're opening your chest. And all of these things to the degree that it feels good in your body or it feels useful, like good work. Maybe you turn your head and look over your right fingertips, but only if that works for your neck. And one other thing you might consider trying here would be straightening and bending that knee on your right leg. So you might try that a couple of times. You might also try lifting your arms, maybe trying to bring fingertips to touch above you or in front of you or below you without peeking at your fingertips. Just using your sense of where you are in space. So maybe as you straighten your leg, you touch your fingertips together, or maybe you stay stationary either with bent knee or straight knee, and try that a few times. So you might be doing a combination of these things, choosing what feels useful to you today. And if perhaps you have a torn labrum and being in Warrior 2 does not feel good to you, you might try this in Warrior 1. So facing the bent knee. And you might continue playing around with these things, or if you'd like to, the next time your front knee is straightened, maybe take your right arm, reach through your right arm, allow your hips to get a little sassy here, maybe your back hip juts out a little bit, and then you bring your right arm down somewhere along your leg, maybe stretch your upper arm up and lean into a triangle pose to whatever degree works for you. So you could be up pretty tall. You might slide your hand down your leg. Another option would be placing a hand on a block or fingertips to the floor. And this is all going to depend on how you're feeling today, what works best for you, how your body wants to move. And if you're in triangle, you can stay there if you like. You might come back up to standing. And one other option I will offer would be half moon, or different versions of half moon. So if you'd like to try half moon, step yourself in a little bit so you have a shorter stance. Set your feet up so that you really are feeling stable, bringing your weight into that front right foot and keeping your body pretty open. There are many ways to do it, but today, one thing you might consider would be just trying the leg part. So pressing into that front foot, lifting up on that leg, straightening through that leg and lifting your back leg to any degree. So leaning into this, and you might make it a little bit more dynamic. You might also have a chair or some piece of furniture or a block in front of you where you could place your fingertips as you're trying this. And you can try it slowly, or you can move more quickly. You might lift your upper arm to any degree. So this could look like many different things. And once you've played around with all of those things enough on the first side, feel free to try it out on the second side. So have your blocks in front of you. Ground down through your right leg. Lift your left toes, tap your block, open your left knee to the side, step out into a lunge. Assess the length of your lunge, decide if you want it to be shorter or longer, or is it great just where it is? Come into your Warrior 2. Maybe you extend your arms out to the side. Think about opening through your chest. Decide if you'd like to peek over your left fingertips, if your arms are out in a T. And again, things you might do here, you might stay right here. You might try straightening and bending through that front knee, maybe bringing your fingertips together as you straighten your knee, and then maybe bending your knee and bringing your arms back into a different position, opening through your arms. If you'd like to try out triangle on this side, you can do that anytime you like. So that would be straightening through your front knee. And you can always keep a softness in that knee, bend it a little, leaning to the side, stretching out through those left fingertips, bringing that arm somewhere along your leg or grabbing a block, placing your hand on your block, maybe lifting your upper arm up, but finding a little bit of opening in your chest, noticing where you feel whatever you feel. It might be a lot of stretch on that left leg. If so, bending your knee can help with taking a little bit of that out if it's uncomfortable. You can keep exploring triangle or warrior two, or maybe you want to try half moon on this side. And if so, you'll come up out of whatever position you're in, step your feet a little closer together, maybe have a block or a chair in front of you and maybe a little bit out to the side. And you might start by just really practicing shifting your weight into your left leg, straightening through that leg and lifting your back leg to any degree. It can also be useful sometimes to place your hand at a wall, placing on that left hand at the wall so that you can practice this leaning into the posture. Once you feel like you've had enough of that, you can come back into mountain pose or Tadasana. Wherever you are, and that could be feet together, feet apart, just standing with a little bit of engagement. Maybe you roll your shoulders back and stand up tall, ground down through your feet. If it feels okay to close your eyes, you could close your eyes and just notice, what are you feeling right now? And one thing I meant to remind everyone of, but forgot, because I am a thoroughly imperfect being in an imperfect world, and I'm still learning, is that every time we do something imperfectly, every time we try something and it doesn't come out quite the way we intend it to come out, that is a very integral part of the learning process. And it's, although it does feel frustrating sometimes, it's kind of an exciting, awesome thing to know that your body and brain is continuing to practice and learn new stuff. So if your eyes are closed, you can close them. I'm sorry, you can open them. Apologies, I am a little loopy today. And then as you're ready, come down into a seated position. You can sit in a chair if you like, or on a bed, or on the floor. And roll yourself down into a lying position. Once you're lying down, come into constructive rest posture where you're lying on your back, your feet are on the ground, your knees are bent, aimed up towards the ceiling. And you could also do this on a chair. So your butt would be on a chair, your back would be at the back of the chair, feet on the floor. Flex your right foot and bring that ankle over your left knee. And then notice, do you feel anything through the outer right side of your hip, of your right hip? You might start pressing your knee gently away from your body to bring that hip into a little more external rotation, if that is a good feeling and you'd like a little more of it. And then decide, do you want to keep your yourself right in this position, or if you'd like a deeper stretch, if you're lying on the floor, you could bring your left knee towards your body. If you're in a chair, you could fold your body towards your knee. And if you're on the floor, lying down, you might interlace your hands behind your left hamstring or in front of that shin or knee. So wherever you are right now, if you're trying this outer hip stretch, you're in Sucharandrasana, a version of Sucharandrasana. If it feels okay to you to bring your attention back to your breath, you can do that, maybe extending your exhales out a little longer than your inhales, slowing your breath down a little bit. And as you're ready, you can release that and try it on the other side. So right foot down, flex your left foot, bring that ankle over your right knee, just above your right knee. Maybe you pull your right knee in. If you're in a chair, maybe you fold forward. And again, possibility of interlacing your hands behind your hamstring on that right leg, possibly in front of your shin or knee. And again, you might be taking long, slow breaths, maybe extending your exhales out longer than your inhales. And if paying attention to your breath is just a source of stress, just make sure you're not holding your breath. Whenever you're ready, you can release that. And take your time finding a position where you can rest for Shavasana. So it could be traditional Shavasana where your arms and legs are just lolling out to the side, you're lying on your back. Or it could be any position that feels restful. So you don't even have to lie down. You might lie down, you might stay seated. Just find whatever feels as comfortable as possible and see if you can rest for the next few minutes. If you want to close your eyes, you can close your eyes. You might also just rest your gaze somewhere. If it feels restful to you to pay attention to your breathing, you could just pay attention to your breathing. Or you might listen to the sounds that are around you, or notice sensations in your body. And as you notice your mind wandering, when you notice your mind wandering, see if you can let go of whatever thoughts are carrying you out of the present without judgment. Notice if your mind is wandering. If it is, can you let go of whatever you're thinking about? Come back into the present. You might deepen your breath a little bit. Maybe start to wiggle your fingers and your toes, find a little movement. And if your eyes are closed, you can open them. Or maybe you decide to stay in Shavasana. But if you're ready to transition out, take your time. Maybe coming to seated if you're not already there. And once you've resettled yourself, if it feels okay to bring your hands into Anjali Mudra, where you're pressing your palms and fingers together, you can do that. This is a gesture of offering. Wherever you are, take a moment to find a reason to express some appreciation to yourself for as specific a reason as you can think of. And then a moment to acknowledge the practice of yoga as an ancient Indian and South Asian practice, which originated thousands of years ago and has been so generously shared with the rest of the world, even after British colonizers tried to wipe out all of yoga. And thank you for practicing with me today.